I've just wrapped up a Zoom call with Jen from NCX, and I've got to say it was an eye opening conversation. What I learned is that NCX is not a carbon buyer itself. Instead, they're more like a clearinghouse. That means they take your conservation goals, like mine on the 270 acres that I've got here in North Carolina, and match you with the providers who specialize in those types of objectives. What I really appreciated is that instead of me chasing down a dozen different companies, trying to figure out who's legitimate, NCX will streamline that process. They'll connect you directly with the providers that most likely fit your land and your goals. For me, this changes the whole game. Here's a view of some of the woodslands that I have on my farm. This track right here, that's some fairly mature timber. I've thinned it 2 times I know of, and I've burned it several times. This track over here is pretty much its sister track, probably under the same conditions. This track that adjoins these tracks, this is some plantation loblolly pines. They've been thinned 1 time, and I've just burned it for the first time this past winter. And they're probably in the range of 25 to 30 years old. I've been looking into the aspect of carbon credits. So I've just decided now that I'm in the process of just initial processes of starting investigating it pretty heavy. And if that's something you think you may be interested in following, I would appreciate it. Give me some comments if you're familiar with carbon credits or know something about the carbon credits even in more depth than I do. I certainly would appreciate hearing from you too.
So you're essentially evaluating the best opportunities for you to manage these 270 acres in alignment with your environmental stewardship goals. Would you say that that's sort of the,
I'd say that's the crux of it, yes.
yeah, yep. Um, what do you have a sense of which way it, I know you're interested in carbon, you're interested in some of the USDA programs, correct?
Well, I've got a USDA program through NRCS. I've been into CSP the last 5 years, and I've just gotten a renewal contract through the gnashing of teeth and some swinging around just approved recently. So I've got another 5 year renewal
Okay.
on there.
Okay. What are you finding? Like, oh, look at that. You've not been on our platform yet, it doesn't seem. Look what I'm seeing. I was just trying to log in as you in our platform to kind of show you how we can help you with this endeavor. Um, but it looks like you've not yet logged in. So I'm gonna let's see. Is it okay with you if I accept our terms and
Oh yeah, fine. That's yeah.
yeah. Because this will be the best way for me to show you how we can help. Did you buy or inherit this land?
Uh, both.
Okay.
Bought the majority of it.
Okay. Tell me about your goals here. We know you want to generate some income.
Correct. Correct. The environment. Yep. Wildlife conservation and of course we hunt on it, but we keep it kind of private, just family
For
and very close
yourselves.
friends.
Which one would be the most important of these goals?
Well, I really where we are
Let's
right
just,
now, I'm really not looking at income generation from the standpoint of getting anything off the land
uh-huh.
from timber sales. So it's either going to be the wildlife conservation and forest health environment. I'd consider those two
This,
about
I
the
mean,
same
it
anyway.
doesn't have like a super material impact, but it's just good for us to know what your goals are.
Okay.
Um, it seems like if I had to guess, this is your goal, right? To balance.
That looks, yeah, I would say so.
Um, would you invest upfront in anything? Now, the reason we ask this is because there are programs that you could be eligible for that might require that you pay out of pocket first or cover certain costs first that you would be reimbursed for. Is that of interest to you, or would you rather skip those?
Well, I'm already doing some of the cost share with NRCS, so yeah, I mean, because I pay that up front and they pay maybe as much as a year later.
Okay. This is a really interesting one. Tell me about the biggest challenges you've encountered when you think about managing your land. Is it an education thing? Is it a time thing? Is it just not knowing how to apply for programs? What?
I would say my thing is because I think we do a fairly good job of managing, but I'd say my lack of equipment resources.
Okay. So, well, cool. We don't even have that as an option for you. Let's just say for contract purposes, and we'll skip. Okay. This is the meat and bones of, you know what I'm going to do, Doug? Just because we do conduct some assessment of your land in the background, that sometimes takes a few minutes before we can show you your results. So, just for the purposes of really demonstrating for you how NCX can help you, because I know you want to be able to convey this on the YouTube, right? When we wrap up, I'll send you a link for you to use to go back into your dashboard. But just for the purpose of today's conversation, I'm just going to skip over to my demo account. You can imagine, like, this is exactly what you would see when you log in next, but it just has kind of had the time to conduct all of those remote assessments for you. What I mean by that is I've created my account, right? And I've indicated in the NCX system what my acres are. This is totally a demo account, right? But NCX has a very robust remote assessment functionality that's running in the background to assess the acres that our landowners put into the system for the purpose of then showing them in this programs directory what their land might be eligible for. The reason or the way we do that is because, like I said, we are assessing their land and its characteristics, its geography, its topography, soil characteristics, and more. And then on the other side of the platform are the requirements that all of these different project developers have. You can see the different categories here. If we go into forest carbon, right, there's a number of different forest carbon programs that are available to landowners in the US. They have lots of different requirements, whether it's down to how many acres a landowner must have to enroll, what states that landowner lives in, and so on. So you can see here, if you click on this program, you'll learn more about what it is they're looking for in a landowner, and
Now,
what kind of.
have y'all changed more or less to a instead of providing the funding yourselves, you're more of a mediator for other providers?
Exactly right. We are the matchmaker
Okay, all
between
right.
the landowner and the project developer, and that is, I would say, that's probably a change that we made about 2 years ago, where we no longer offered forest carbon projects because we were offering that 1 year harvest deferral
Right, I
project.
remember that.
And in the end, that 1 year deferral was not, from a sort of carbon credit registry perspective, that was not anything that ever ended up getting globally approved. So we paid out those contracts, we paid out those landowners, but in the end, we couldn't keep offering that contract because deferring harvest for 1 year is still not yet a globally practiced forest management approach. All of these forest carbon programs are going to be, I mean, there are some shorter terms, 5 years and so on, but most of the big players in the improved forest management space, so IFM, Forest Carbon Works, if you've heard of them, Land Yield, Sky Harvest, these are all big players in the forest carbon space, and their programs are multi-year programs where they are going to pay the landowner to keep their trees in the ground. The carbon that's sequestered in that time frame will then be sold in the carbon market, and they will allow those landowners to take part in the proceeds of the sale of those credits. So we help landowners understand which programs they'd be eligible for, not just for forest carbon, but tree planting programs as well. If you wanted to enroll your land in a reforestation program, for example, you can essentially use NCX to shop around this directory of programs to learn what your acres are eligible for, learn about those contract details, and connect with the entities that are administering those projects.
Now, one thing that I wanted to really ask you about also was, when you were talking about um, the carbon credits that you had with some of these larger companies. I guess in the past, I was always hearing to be real skeptical about those because it seems like that those companies were, even though they had long-term contracts, that they were not as reputable, I guess, as what you would like for them to be from the standpoint of maybe them keeping the majority of the money. It seemed like there's been a lot of controversy about that from what I had been understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's valid skepticism in the space around what a good deal looks like for a landowner. There's certain ways that you can get to that answer, though. Meaning, if we look at like Forest Carbon Works, for example, and just to back up and kind of reorient you, right? What we're looking at right now is a directory of programs. Each of these cards represents a different program. If you look at the details of that program, here's where you'll start to see things like what the requirements are and the what the payment might look like. So here, this is like the fine print that I would encourage landowners to scrutinize because you can really get a sense of how fair and good this deal might look like for you. I'll elaborate by saying that this company, Forest Carbon Works, is allowing landowners to choose between two different ways they'd like to get paid. If they'd rather be a bit conservative and sit with a fixed payment per acre, conservative meaning they don't want to be subject to the mercy of the market, they just want to guarantee $10 per acre per year for the time that they're enrolled, they could do that. If they want to play the market a bit more liberally, they could say, I'd like to actually commit to a 25% cut of what you're selling these credits for. Now, that obviously insinuates that 75% of the proceeds of those credits sold are going back to the developer. 25% is going to go to the landowner. You would then say to yourself, okay, so I see what this contract could look like. I could either, roll the dice and get 25% of the credits sold, or I could play it safe and commit to $10 per acre. But let's see what this other company is offering landowners. This one's called Land Yield, and their contract term is different. It's less time. You can enroll with as little as 40 acres, and they might want to pay you between $30 to $40 per acre per year. So Doug, as the landowner, would contact Land Yield, and he'd contact Forest Carbon Works, and he'd say, I'm interested in your program. I'd like to get a sample contract. I'd like to see what your proposal would be. And you're in the position to sort of take
Negotiate.
bids. What did you say?
Negotiate.
Exactly. So
Well,
you
I guess
can,
what I was seeing, I didn't realize that y'all went to this extensive measures because I guess when I was sending out information to, I think I sent it out to 5 to 8 uh, providers. That's really what y'all do, isn't it?
yeah, I think, that's something that we need to start to get better about is our marketing, meaning I don't know that the industry at large is fully aware of the fact that we've transitioned from being the project developer to instead being the liaison between the landowner and the developer. And that really is the crux. We are completely landowner first now to make it even clearer to landowners how they can use us as a tool to accomplish their goals.
So this is really starting to feel real, and I'm really excited just to take you on this next steps with me so you can follow along how I'm going to go through the process, or even you can decide if maybe this is something you'd like to try to do. Now, this was just the first conversation that I've had with NCS, and next I'll be waiting to get the email back from Jen, and then maybe I can start sharing what other providers are saying and how their contracts are actually compared to one another. I know some will probably be more welcoming than others to small landowners, and I'll walk you through all that. So if you're interested in this, I hope you can join me on this series, and